One of the things that are also of great importance is to speak up for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself and represent your own interests in life. I see this a lot in the workplace. And yeah, this message is in particular when it comes to the workplace, right? Because I work with different companies. I also have lots of individual clients who are trying to push in their careers. I do a lot of executive training and executive coaching. And what I've found, especially when it comes to Black people, and in particular Black women, is that there is this lack of self advocacy. And for as long as in the workplace you are not able to speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself, you're not going to get that promotion. You are not going to get that pay raise. You are not going to get those benefits. You are not going to get that secondment. You are not going to get, and there's so many ends, right? Because in the workplace, competition is stiff. There's so many people who are trying to climb the corporate ladder, and the positions are not that many, okay? It's a pyramid, and the top positions are at the apex of the pyramid. And so it's not to say that you have to fight for it, but you really have to have a clear view of what you want and be able to tell people what you want. And there is a way to do that. Uh, and I find that when it comes to Black people, because we are coming from a different cultural background, when we step into the working world, there is an expectation almost that things are going to work the same, and they are not. And what I've noticed, having had my 24 years of corporate working experience, is that when you're coming from a township background, okay, or a Black African background, or even colored background, is that you are having a clear clash of two ideologies when you come into the workplace, right? Because you're coming from a background that is based on African philosophy. It's based on Ubuntu, and there are certain cultural norms that come with that. And so when you step into the workplace, it's a different philosophy altogether. It's very much based on Western philosophy of individualism versus collectivism. In the African philosophy point of view, the definition of respect and authority is completely different. And so when you're approaching that coming from a African background, it's a butting of the heads in terms of those philosophies. And so you really need to know how to play in a new playing field. Okay. It's completely different from when you're at. And so when you're coming from the African philosophy side, normally you have other people that are speaking for you. For example, if you're having problems with you in a marriage, or there's relational problems with other people, it's easy for you to go and call on the uncles, call on the auntie to go and speak to so and so on your behalf, or things like that. And it's a norm to be able to do that. But in the workplace is not like that. You have to speak up for yourself. And as much as you are looking for people who are sponsors, mentors, coaches, at the end of the day, you are still expected to represent yourself. And you need to be able to learn how to do that in a way that works within the system of the working environment within corporate, right? So you have to learn those things around your emotional intelligence, how to do things in a confident way, how to have that presence so that when you are speaking, people are listening to you, and they respect you, and they give you voice in terms of what you say. So when you are relying on other people, you have no idea what's in those people's minds, because people play a lot of games in the corporate landscape. So you have to be very, yo, these helicopters the whole day. Okay, let me wait, guys. Yeah, where I live is very close to one of the G20 gatherings, so there's been like helicopters and planes the whole day. But anyway, so now that that's over, is that you need to represent yourself, because even if you have somebody who's a sponsor, that person might not always represent you in exactly the way that you want. Other people also have agenda because maybe they might be threatened by you, and so you might be relying on them, but when they get into the boardroom, they are speaking about you in a completely different way. So you need to learn how to represent yourself in these spaces, especially the professional spaces, guys. And it's not really about code switching, because I know Black people talk about that a lot, to say, okay, you're coming from this world and stepping into the other world. For sure, code switching is necessary, but it's also around understanding the battlefield that you are on. And so many of us are concerned around little small battles when we are actually not keeping our eye on the war that is at play. And you need to understand that in this battlefield, it's around protecting and conserving your career, and you need to make the right moves when you are in that battlefield, right? So in that way, you need to always be able to stand up for yourself and always advocate for yourself. Will it be well received? Not always. Okay, because sometimes people expect you to be in your place, whatever your place means for them. So they might not expect you as a Black woman to be able to stand up for yourself. You must, and I think that one thing we also need to let go of is coming into these spaces as if people have done you a favor. Okay, I have worked my way up. And wherever I'm at, I deserve to be there. And so you need to come back, you need to come into those spaces with that kind of attitude, not from a place of arrogance. Okay, that's completely different. But being confident, self assured, and having that sense of self worth and deservedness in terms of the fact that this is the journey you've walked. You deserve to be here, and not to let other people break you down in terms of putting you in your place. And that happens a lot. It happens a lot in corporate. And hence I'm saying that when people now start trying to push you around or even bullying you, because workplace bullying is a thing, is that you need to be able to stand your ground and work within the ambit of the policies that are there, work within the ambit of the people within your network who are your allies there. Yes, they can, you can use them to represent you, but under all circumstances, be ready to speak up for yourself. Be ready to say what you want in an emotionally intelligent way, obviously confidently, with that respect, and not being rude. You don't want to gain a negative reputation within the environment that you're in. But yes, stand up for yourself. Speak up for yourself. And this is not, only work. I know that I've spent a lot of time on the work situation, but that's because I spend a lot of my time there, and I've also just had a long career, and I'm seeing these things even as I'm coaching, as I'm lecturing, that it is a repetitive cycle. But in life in general, you must be able to stand up for yourself. Don't let people push you around. Don't let people disrespect you because maybe you were born on the wrong side of the tracks, or people are judging you and sussing you out, and they think, okay, no, you should be this or that. Always stand up for yourself, right? Especially when it comes to people who are trying to put you down. And that comes from knowing yourself. It always goes back to knowing yourself, to say, what once you have really learned how to stand firm in who you are, then you will know your worth, and then you will also then be able to advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself, and speak up for yourself when you need to.